What are you watching here, Barricade? Or are you? Not really good.
This 55-year-old woman spent 3 years in court trying to sue a theme park because some kids called her a parent when she was arguing with employees over the ride height. And honestly, this whole legal battle ended in the exact way that most people would assume. Is the fact that she was trying to get the amusement park to pay her because they didn't stop some kids from calling her a Karen is that's just outrageous. That is some crazy entitlement going on. And this case went all the way through New Jersey's court system. We got dismissed by one judge, appeared to a higher court, and then got dismissed again. So I guess it's safe to say that we have
A TikTok star with millions of followers stands accused. A TikTok star with millions of followers stands accused of one of the most shocking lies imaginable, faking a cancer diagnosis. British influencer Brittany Miller was exposed for fabricating a battle with cancer, a deception that dates back years. The truth came out in dramatic fashion. An insider leaked evidence of a fundraising page for Miller's supposed cancer treatment, sending the internet into an uproar. Within days, Brittany herself appeared on TikTok with tears, confessing that she's never had cancer at all. It was a jaw-dropping fall from grace, a betrayal of trust that left fans and the public reeling. How did a beloved content creator fool everyone with a false illness? And what happened when her wire unraveled? To understand this scandal, we have to rewind to 2017. Back then, Brittany Miller was a 21-year-old from Oxfordshire, England. If you guys could please leave a comment down below saying hello, I'll reply to every single one of you and get a feedback. And also, please like the videos using the update help showing the world who these people really are. Not yet an internet celebrity, just a young woman going through a dark period in her life. According to Miller's own account, 2017 was the worst year of her life. She later described that she had extremely bad mental health, was depressed, had lost her partner, job, and felt utterly lost. In this difficult state, Brittany made a brutal choice. She lied to her close friends and family that she had been diagnosed with cancer when she was just 21 years old. In what she calls a moment of desperation, Brittany blurted out a lie that would haunt her for years. She told a close friend that she had been diagnosed with cancer, specifically claiming she was fighting stage 3 gastric cancer, a serious stomach cancer, and implied she was undergoing treatment for it. Her devastated friends and family rallied around her, taking her at her word, they offered sympathy and support. And soon, the well-meaning friend set up a Just Giving crowdfunding page on Brittany's behalf. The goal is to raise money for the recovery. Donations start coming in, and people can genuinely donate for her life. One friend floated a list that Brittany even accepted as her grandmother privileged way of going intense of pain for cancer treatment. To maintain the rules, Brittany brought up details of her supposed illness. Friends report her saying she was in the hospital undergoing grueling radiotherapy sessions for her cancer. She played the part of a cancer patient convincingly enough that her immediate circle doubted her. Once real money was involved, Brittany's panic set in as donations trickled into the fundraiser. At least 2 donations were made. Brittany abruptly shut down the crowdfunding page. She later insisted that she never kept a penny of the donated funds and had the page closed as soon as she saw people were actually giving money. According to Brittany, this was the point where she turned to those closest to her, admitting that she did not have cancer after all. Whether she fully confessed in 2017 or simply stopped the lie quietly, the immediate cancer hoax was over almost as quickly as it began. Brittany would later characterize the whole episode as a one-time, terrible mistake. A was one stupid sentence when I said, she reflected, emphasizing that it wasn't a long-time scam. Indeed, by her account, the lie only lasted a short period in 2017. But the consequences of that stupid lie were just beginning. To escape the embarrassment and the terror of her falsehood, Brittany moved away from her hometown and later. She distanced herself from the friends who knew the truth, hoping to leave the cancer lie behind. Start fresh. In the digital age, however, secrets have a way of resurfacing, and Brittany's was far from safe from home. Adorable family vlogs, she amassed a huge following. By 2025, Brittany had 3.5 million TikTok followers and over 500,000 Instagram followers, all drawn in by her upbeat content and non-realizer about her past. She even moved into a new house in East Sussex, paid for by her influencer success, and welcomed twin baby boys in 2024, further cementing her image as a mother of one. There was no hint of a cancer survivor narrative in her content. It seemed she had entirely abandoned that story. Yet, some who knew the truth had not forgotten. In 2020, eyebrows were raised when Brittany participated in a breast cancer awareness charity event, given what she'd done. More significantly, that year, the law finally caught up with her lie. Authorities investigated the 2017 fundraising mistake, and Brittany was charged and convicted of fraud by false representation for lying about her cancer. In July 2020, a court gave her a 12-month conditional discharge, essentially probation, and ordered her to pay some legal costs as a penalty. The conviction was real. Brittany Miller now had fraud on her record, but it was handled quietly because she wasn't famous yet and no large sum of money had been stolen. The case never made headlines. Brittany never spoke about it publicly, and most of her followers had no idea she had stood in a courtroom for faking cancer. For a while, it seemed Brittany had successfully kept her dark secret hidden while she rose to online stardom. But secrets have a way of emerging. A few people in her old circle were determined that Brittany's massive audience should know the truth, and by late 2025, they found a way to expose her. Brittany Miller's carefully managed image began to crumble in late 2025 when someone from her past decided to speak up. Her former best friend, still angry and hurt about Brittany's deception, reached out to the British press. This ex-friend, who remained anonymous in reports, provided tabloids with evidence and accounts of Brittany's 2017 cancer lie. Brittany lied to us all, not just her friends, but also her followers online. The ex-pal revealed, explaining why they felt the need to come forward. On November 4th, 2025, UK tabloid The Sun published an explosive expose with the headline, "How Online Scammer Brittany Miller Faked Cancer to Become Top Influencer as we Reveal Dark Truth Behind Her Career." The article laid out the entire hidden saga in unsparing detail. The Sun reported that back in 2017, Brittany's lie left her community heartbroken and even inspired a crowdfunding campaign to support her. The paper also noted that mentions of her supposed cancer vanished from the internet in the years afterward until insiders came forward. Crucially, the Sun's investigation was backed by interviews with Brittany's former friends. They recounted how Brittany had claimed to be in the hospital receiving cancer treatment
dialogue between artists, and not only between each other, with Michelle Legrand tying them together in so many ways, but if you look at Umbrellas and Shortberg and you look at Do the Right Thing, you see artists and dialogue. So eventually Wave is coming in the back. Jackie Chan boxing, you know what I'm saying?
Super successful. One insider told the newspaper bluntly, the friend emphasized that their motive for speaking up was not revenge, but accountability. It's about people knowing the truth, which they deserve. The Sun's expose didn't just rely on personal testimonies, they also verified official records, discovering that police confirmed Britney's 2024 conviction for the cancer lie. This added a solid legal backbone to the scandal. It wasn't just gossip. Britney's deception was a matter of public record. The Sun highlighted that Britney's criminal record hadn't been widely known and pointed out the apparent irony that she managed to become a successful TikToker despite this dark past. Once the Sun article hit, Britney's secret was out in the open, splashed across headlines.
It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York.
With her past laid bare and backlash melting, Brittany Miller finally broke her silence. On Monday, November 10th, 2025, she posted a video to TikTok in which she directly addressed the accusations. This was no upbeat cooking clip, it was a more emotional apology filmed in her bedroom, with Britney fighting back tears as she spoke into the camera. In the video, which garnered over 7 to 10 million views within a day or two, Britney confessed that she lied about having cancer back in 2017. She did not sugarcoat it. I said something to someone within my immediate circle in confidence, one stupid sentence that I deeply regret. I said I had an illness which was cancer. She admitted bluntly. She acknowledged that the lie spiraled beyond her control. The lie quickly spread, leading to a fundraising page and ultimately a police inquiry. Through sobs, Brittany tried to explain why she did it. Her core message: this wasn't done out of malice or greed, but out of personal desperation. In her broken mental state in 2017, Brittany claims she feared people abandoning her, and the cancer lie was a misguided plea for attention and care. She repeatedly emphasized her mental health struggles. At that time, I had extremely bad mental health. I was depressed. I was lost. This was not an excuse. I understand why I did it. Reportedly, Brittany addressed the fundraising money and the business of scamming. She confirmed that a friend had set up a donation page so that I could receive financial help while I battled my diagnosis. But she claims she never wanted that money. As soon as she saw donations coming in, she had the page immediately shut down and never accepted any money as a result of the lie. In her apology, Brittany seemed especially anxious to make this clear, likely because being seen as a greedy scammer would make the public ire even worse. And indeed, authorities confirmed she didn't profit from those attempted donations, which took her very little before the page was closed. Brittany's apology video was an attempt to astounding situation, and reactions to it were mixed. On TikTok, the clip garnered millions and millions of views and tens of thousands of comments. Many viewers actually responded with encouragement and forgiveness. Top comments included messages like, "You aren't that person anymore, life goes on," and "Be kind to yourself, we all make mistakes." Some fans thanked her for finally addressing the issue and expressed sympathy, accepting her explanation that she had been mentally ill. To these supporters, written in front of them now, a loving mom who spreads positive vibes, was clearly a changed person from the troubled girl of 2017. They urged others not to glue her off the internet for a past error. However, there was also significant outrage and skepticism. The revelation hit a nerve, especially for those who have lost loved ones to cancer or who follow influences for authenticity. Critical comments piled up, and the need took 8 years to admit. Others accused Gritty of not only apologizing because she got caught, not out of genuine remorse. On Reddit and other forums, users were far less forgiving. Many labeled her a narcissist and a grifter, doubting her story about not taking donations. Memes and videos condemning Gritty circulated, but some people called for her to be cancelled or departed. Comparisons were made to other infamous cancer fakers, more on those soon, and some questioned if mental health struggles justified what she did. The public's trust was badly shaken. After all, millions had followed Britney's content without knowing who they were really supporting. Traditional media also seized on the story. People Magazine, Newsweek, BBC News, Global News, and others published articles about Britney's fake cancer lie. These outlets largely reported the facts and, in some cases, added context about similar scams. The BBC's piece, titled "TikTok Creator So Sorry for the Cancer Diagnosis Lie," emphasized that Britney had been apologizes in emotional video. "I was lost, focusing on mental health explanation." Newsweek's story pointed out that Britney's video came after the Sun's expose, and it directly cited the Sun's accusation that she faked cancer for likes. Newsweek also mentioned that some commenters praised her for addressing it, while others were not as supportive. One interesting aspect is that some high-profile influencers and commentators weighed in. While no A-list celebrity was noted as commenting, the scandal became a hot topic with the influencer community. TikTok drama reporters and YouTubers made commentary videos dissecting Britney's apology. On Twitter X, a few prominent content creators directly referenced the situation, tweeting about how despicable it is to fake illness for clout. There were also discussions on platforms like Instagram and Facebook. Posts about Britney on gossip pages drew lots of angry reactions and comments from people who felt personally affronted by her lie.
Britney Taylor, the UK TikTok, has finally come out and apologized for lying about her. So as a breakdown her apology video, I'm just the book to work out how long the video is going to be. Now, bear in mind, the video has only been up for 2 years.
Within Reddit communities, the consensus was largely negative. Users dug up everything they could, from screenshots of the old Just People page to past instances where Britney might have alluded to being sick, unconfirmed. In short, the internet's collective fury was directed at Britney Miller, though a segment of her fan base remained sympathetic and hoped she could be allowed to grow from this. As for Britney's current status, she's not been reported to face any legal actions beyond the 2020 case, which is closed. No lawsuits have big amounts from any individuals, possibly because very little money was actually taken and the crime was already dealt with criminally. TikTok was not banned her, so she however, the true test is whether she can regain trust.
Oh, it's working! It's working! No way! I'm doing it! Freedom cowboy! Look at me go! I'm flying! I'm flying! I would put it in your ass. I bet the guy is super confused. Hello, sir. I'm hacking. You just saw me fly. Lay down all your weapons.
Meanwhile, fellow content creators and influencers chimed in as well. TikTok commentary accounts posted videos condemning Britain's actions. YouTubers released breakdowns of the Britain blood cancer scam across the board. The influence community voiced disapproval. Facing a serious focus was seen as costing a red line that damages trust for everyone. In online forums like Reddit, live gathered thousands of upvotes and comments. In subreddit r/TikTok gossip, users shared screenshots and receipts of Britney's past posts, determined to hold her accountable. Some noted that attempts to expose her earlier had been ignored, but now the truth was finally out, spreading widely. The consensus in these forums was outrage. Users labeled Britain's behavior disgusting and felt vindicated that the mainstream public was now aware of her deceit. All told, Britain Willer's revelation ignited a firestorm. The scandal became a cautionary tale discussed far beyond her own follower base. Britain hoped her apology would calm the situation, but in many ways it only drew more attention. She had to watch in real time as her reputation, painstakingly built up over years, was torn down in a matter of days by the very public she once inspired. As shocking as Britney's case is, it's not an isolated incident. Sadly, there is a history of influencers and internet personalities fabricating serious illnesses for attention or money. One of the most infamous examples is Mel Gibson, an Australian wellness blogger who falsely claimed to have terminal brain cancer. Gibson gained huge fame and profit. She sold a cookbook and wellness app on the back of her fake cancer story until journalists exposed her lies. In 2017, an Australian court fined her $410,000 for defrauding her customers and charities she claimed to be helping. Her entire cancer narrative had been a sham. Other cases have ended with even harsher consequences. In one recent case, a woman who pretended to have cancer for 7 years and raised over $100,000 in donations was sentenced to 5 years in prison for fraud. Another woman faked cancer to swindle her own partner out of tens of thousands of dollars, also resulting in a criminal conviction. These incidents spark just as much outrage as Britain's, if not more, because they often involve deliberate, long-term deception to exploit people's goodwill. By comparison, Britain Willer's deception was shorter-lived and relatively small-scale. She did not broadcast any fake illness to the masses or raise significant money from strangers. She maintains she stopped fundraising after 2 donations. In fact, Britney's lie was confined to her immediate circle until it resurfaced years later. But in the court of public opinion, those distinctions only matter so much. A lie about cancer, no matter the scope, is seen as a grievous betrayal of trust. Britney's case also raises questions about mental health and accountability. She attributes her actions to a very severe depressive episode and a lack of judgment. At the time, it's true that mental health crises can lead people to act in irrational or extreme ways. However, many commentators have been quick to assert that mental illness does not excuse what she did, but rather than excusing such behavior might belittle the genuine suffering of cancer patients and their families. Finally, this scandal feeds into a larger conversation about trust and influences. Social media influencers build their followings on a foundation of authenticity and personal connection. When an influencer is exposed for lying about something as serious as cancer, it erodes that trust for everyone. Fans may become more skeptical of personal stories shared online, which is unfortunate for those creators who are honest. Britney's betrayal struck a nerve, not only because of the subject matter, but because it reminds audiences that you don't always really know the person you're following on TikTok or Instagram. If there's a silver lining, it's that Britney's story has sparked important discussions. People are talking about the need for accountability in influencer culture, the importance of mental health support, and the boundaries of acceptable behavior online. Faking a terminal illness is a line that most agree should never be crossed. Brittany Miller crossed it, and her story will likely be cited for years as a cautionary tale of what happens when an influencer's pursuit of attention goes too far. In the end, Brittany Miller's rise and fall underscores the high stakes of internet fame and personal honesty. She went from being a beloved TikTok mom, charming millions with recipes and relatable humor, to being vilified as the woman who faked cancer. The revelation of her lie has left many questioning whether they can ever truly trust an influencer's personal stories. Brittany has apologized and shown remorse, but rebuilding her reputation, if it's even possible, will likely be an uphill battle. Faking cancer is a line that should never be crossed, and Brittany's story will likely be cited for years.
Can you imagine as a mother that was the hardest thing? These are things, little things that he's continued to do the whole entire time. He's tried to manipulate my children, even me, everyone around me. This is what we're dealing with and working with. I've tried to reason with him off the app and say, I've tried my absolute best to end this with him, and it's not happening. At this point, I'm getting a lawyer. I'm going to not make another post after this. Even if he continues to harass me on the internet, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm getting a lawyer about him doing this, and I'm also going to get a lawyer and I'm coming back for my roles. I'm not scared of him anymore, and I'm not going to keep allowing this to happen.
The
So it was an all-out posting war. Elizabeth would post TikToks about Andrew, and Andrew would post TikToks about Elizabeth. Elizabeth would create a similar series to Andrew with hers called Surviving Evicting Elizabeth. All right, now you know pretty much the whole backstory of what's going on here, the conflicts and the arguments that have occurred. Let's talk about some of the very concerning things, such as Elizabeth allegedly faking cancer.
Hey guys, I just wanted to get on and do an update myself. I have been feeling really sick since I woke up. I woke up with a temperature of 101.9, I think, and then it's now at like 103. So right now I'm feeling a little fed up from my doctor on what they want me to do. I'm getting to the point right now where like I have to like walk into the bathroom, like I know to take a shower, and I know I can't do that myself right now. I'm too weak. And just the stress with everything else in my life surrounding this and me being sick and everything that comes down with it and just overwhelmed. I don't know how I'm going to handle this. But thank you to everyone who kind of reached out and said prayers with me and hopefully this fight here from Homa is going to go well.
Now, she would say that she had lymphoma while she was pregnant with Andrew's second child. She even went as far as to create a Facebook group called Elizabeth's Lymphoma Journey. She was even going to sell a shirt for $28.49. Now, on Andrew's TikTok, he very much treated this like a Netflix documentary or series, and he would label each TikTok that he uploaded an episode, and this was episode 19. He would title this one, The Call That Changed Everything. It was 2020. My wife was home with the kids. I was working with Maria at the office. She told me a close friend from Indiana had passed away, someone I'd never heard of, but said he left her $5,000, and she used it for her rent. Then I come home one day and saw a lump under her arm. It looked serious. She went to the doctor alone because I couldn't go with her due to 2020 restrictions. She said they needed more tests, $3,000 worth. I gave her the money. A week or two later, we were driving when her phone rang. She answered, then hung up and told me I have lymphoma.
We left off at September of 2020. We have just moved into a house in a rental company. My wife is home with the kids, and I'm working with Maria now in the office, her friend. Overall, things are going pretty well at the office, and on the home front, things are going okay there. At this time, my wife started cooking a lot at home and started to get into TikToks and different things on her page for a cookbook. So she started doing these cooking series and did a cookbook, which I thought was great for her. They kind of gave her an outlet to do social media, something I know that she did. It was one day in September, she told me that one of her really good friends from Indiana, this guy, passed away. She was very sad about it, very emotional about it. She said that that was one of her really good friends. I didn't really know who he was. I've never seen him or heard of him, but she said it was one of her really good friends when she was living in Indiana. Apparently, he moved to Florida at some point and was living in Florida and not too far away from us. She told me that they were such good friends that when he passed away, he left her $5,000. Really think much of it, other than she told me that she was gonna take care of the rent at this time. She said that she got the money and she was gonna be able to pay on the rent. I said that'd be great if you could take care of the rent then. So this was in October, and she said she was gonna be paying our rent for the next. She's like, I can cover the rent for the next 2 months. So this would have been November and December's rent for us. So still in October, I get home from the office one day. Again, she's pregnant. So she has her normal, I would say, ups and downs like any pregnancy does. You have your good days, you have other days where you're tired. And then just with our life, everything going on with Lauren, everything going on with Jeff still, not getting the money there. We need to run around from both of them, the highs and lows of that. So I get home one day from work, and she has this lump under her arm, and it looks very concerning. So I tell her, you gotta go to the doctor, you have to check it out. This could be something very serious. So she goes to her doctor. Again, this is still in 2020. Some things are lifted. We are back at the office with masks, but this type of law was not lifted because obviously patients that are going to this type of doctor are higher risk, if you will. Obviously, she's pregnant as well. So these doctor appointments, I was not able to go to even still. So she went to the doctors and they sent her forward more testing. They said they needed to do a fluid biopsy and I believe MRI, CT, some kind of other scan. I don't think it was an X-ray, but some other scan along with fluid biopsy. So she told me that she needed about $3,000 for these tests to be ran. I said, obviously, I don't know what's going on with you, so I gave her $3,000. So we went and got the test done. And about a week, maybe 2 weeks passed, and she gets a phone call. We're in the car driving. I'll never forget this. We were driving in the car, and she goes, "It's my doctor's." And I just said, "You gotta answer it." So she answers it, and she's on the phone with them, and like it just, I got a feeling, I guess, that wasn't gonna be good news. She hung up with the doctor, and she told me that she had lymphoma, or just something.
Allegedly, somebody had access to Elizabeth's email, which gave them access to her information. Well, it turns out that she was allegedly searching different types of cancer to see which one she wanted to act like she had, as well as searching for stage 4 cancer PET scan, which might explain where this PET scan came from, and other things such as what is a cancer report made of, can they put a cancer report in while pregnant, and how we know cancer is getting worse. Properly trying to educate herself so she can truly act out this role of having cancer. She also created a fake cancer report using gauze and tape and took photos of herself trying to look like she was a cancer patient. Elizabeth would go on to start a GoFundMe that would raise nearly $5,000. And it seems that Elizabeth put a lot of thought into what to say in order to get people to donate. She would say emergency funds, please do this
Your sides are a little. It's so many sides that are made. Let's not do that. It's
where will your donation be utilized?
It's funny.
Mortgage, electric, everyday bills we all pay, home health care if needed. Elizabeth was diagnosed with B-cell NHL in early December of 2020. At that time, she was told it was projected to be stage 1, 2, but further testing was needed. As devastating as the news can be, she was getting more devastating news. December 16, 2020, stage 4 B-cell NHL that has infiltrated in her lungs so bad that the team of doctors had discussions with her about being placed on the transplant list. Who is Elizabeth? She's obviously a daughter, a granddaughter, sister, cousin, aunt, niece, and so on. More importantly, Elizabeth is a wife, a mother. What you don't know about her story, unless you read this far, is she and her husband have 3 beautiful children, and she is currently pregnant with their 4th. And she even goes into a detailed breakdown of the symptoms, which sometimes scammers try to avoid medical specifics for obvious reasons. They don't really know what they're talking about. But this is done in a way that feels very emotionally manipulative rather than fact-based. And through the research that I've done, she says here that she has a white blood cell count.
Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft team with the rank 1 terror in the world, the Frenchman from Team Liquid in Iraq.
She says her hemoglobin was a 4, it should be at least an 8, which is dangerous.
Team Liquid in Iraq. We are classic, facing off against one of his greatest rivals, the Protoss in blue. It's classic. And a best of 5 Protoss versus Terran showdown. As part of the $15,000 Thunderfire All-Stars invitation. Before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button. Maybe even.
I'm not smashing anybody's like button. Fucking homos.
1,783 likes on this video on this cast. I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyway because I.
Oh, just kidding, obviously.
But thank you for watching.
Doesn't make you homosexual.
And hopefully it's
I
about to
happen
get
to
to
like
a little
homosexuals.
bit. As Classic starts things off with a Reaper wall, but Dilemma's hard countered that by simply not building a Reaper at all. It appears he started deciding to build a line instead of dogs, and his economy is the priority. Above all. And a bulwark is the main base to block out the potential Blade Stalkers. The most
relatively passive start on this He's in far enough to see that Classic has Texas on the way, but we'll see if he's ever able to scout the Dark Shrine, a shrine to dark, to start things off. Classic, well known for his near pixel perfect Protoss builds, unlike some other Protoss out there. He opens up with almost the fastest possible Dark Shrine rush. Dark Templar are certainly a potentially game-ending unit if they go unscouted and uncountered. We'll see what Clem follows up this Widowmine drop with. Customarily, it is a Raven, but this Dark Shrine is so incredibly quick. It's high risk, and it's a very high reward. So if Clem slaps down a Tech Lab after, it's very likely that he'll at least eventually have a counter, but this is so incredibly quick. Boots the medevac out, and Tech Labs across the board, Factory and Starport, all set up to kind of corral the Blink Stalkers when so often they try to get into the base. As Clem well aware of the threats on both sides of this matchup, being one of the most accomplished Terror versus Protoss and Protoss versus Terror players out there. But the first two Dark Templar are warped in. There's no proxy pylon, there's no warp prism. They're just going to walk across the old-fashioned way. Meanwhile, the Widowmine drop will hit first. Does it get close enough to scout the Dark Shrine? We'll see. As the trolls are called, but the first Widowmine on the high ground offers up the customary sacrifices, them retargeting the mines. But eventually we'll be dealt with that first Widowmine. Okay. And he scouts the Dark. Oh, that is it. What is it? As the Dark Templar are already in the base, he was already preemptively building a Raven, the standard follow-up. So, what could have been an unmitigated disaster will instead be a bit of an inconvenience. Maybe even a kerfuffle here as the SCVs were pulled away from the National. 4 of them taken out. 1 Dark Templar was gunned down, but the second one...
You can say a kerfuffle.
Kind of slapped down the engineering bay. This is the moment the Widowmine, of all things, scouted the Dark Shrine. But overall, a solid defense, though it remains to be seen whether it was worth it. As Classic
Called
did,
StarCraft
you can see
2.
both sides with their early pressure denying a lot of the mining. Classic comes out with a few extra workers, and he's got a third Nexus nearly completed. But it kind of remains unclear whether it did the damage it needed to do. A high Templar archive, just a Templar archive, which seems a little pretentious of the Templar, but if there was a word to describe them, I'm just saying. Storm being crumble boosted out. A Templar in position to potentially feed back the Raven if tries to slip behind. And Clem follows up at home. The threat of Dark Templar means the Raven is most likely going to stay back until he feels comfortable with an army to move out. There's Blink. He's got the 2 Dark Templar for the Viking. There to intercept exactly this. The Stalker there to intercept the Viking. The Raven is also involved in the select all army action. And picks up a Marine drop. An Archon merge on a Classic. Are they going to see each other? I don't know what that means, but I'm not entirely sure it means they saw each other. As so far, it's not surprising if Clem decides to go forward, though it would be a little surprising that Classic did, if he did indeed scout the War Prism, or scout the medevac rather. More than enough in defense. A couple of depths actually stepped behind the mineral line. The Marines are dropping out, and stick is completed, so the probes can be paying the price. Several SCVs with the Adepts who are well past their expiration date this decade.
Both playing
Storm
Terran?
is gone, but there's not enough Marines to really exhaust it. And the medevac, well,
Yeah.
target the Archon inside, and a Templar as well. More than worth the sacrifice of those Marines with the medevac. Oh, no, it's a disaster for Classic. That War Prism, the only major threat keeping Clem back at home. He empties the bunker. He rallies everything across the map. And now, Clem, with almost triple the army supply, is knocking on the door. Classic has storms to answer. So far, Clem parting the Red Sea against the storms. Auto turrets. Classic does have charge. He does have storm. But his army is quite mediocre in comparison. So far, the Templar split off Marines, stimming in order to take it out before it can do any more. There's still one more storm on the back line. Autumn colors for the bio. Enough charge lock to keep things at bay. The fadeaway storm gonna zone out for a few more seconds. And so far, Classic has managed to hold it together. He's got 8 gateways already online. He preempted the production he needed. An observer to stop the Army moving out, though it might not see the Devil Medevac drop. Headed over to the right side. The Raven did survive, despite some hostile intentions of the Templar and the rest of the Army. The Bio Army spotted on the left. Is there anything in the main? Absolutely not. And now we'll warp in what he can. A single Templar, and quite a difficult scenario for both sides to maneuver. But it feels like Classic had a trap in a prison of his own design here. The charge lot's not able to move back. A Widow Mine was left behind. The charge lots on the other side of the map will be ripped off by the bunker and a whole bunch of mines out of Clem, who maintains a 20 supply of 8 to start things off. A 4th Nexus is completed for Classic in the bottom left corner. That Widow Mine in the main is Classic know that it's there. There is no detection. At some point, the mine could scan for it and do a uncomfortable amount of damage. Another one burrows down. It's a good hit, and the storms will prevent the bubble. Are there any more storms ready? The observer, the map is dark and full of terrors. And Classic, unable to spot it in time, no feedback on the Raven. And now another attack is knocking on the door of the natural. Just a constant barrage. But so far, Classic has held strongly enough. He still has all his Nexi intact. One of the robotics facilities, which is currently producing Colossi, will be canceled before it can even complete. Another one being targeted as well. And the tech tree is being chopped off branch by Clem. But an Army gets caught. He loses track of one side of that back drops. And just like that, every single Marine Marauder is ripped apart. All but one medevac is torn down. And Classic holds the line. He holds all of his bases. He keeps his probe count healthy. Zealot's not so much. They're drilling gloves out. No, not this day. Some jar lots on the other side. The +2/1 upgrades are closing in for Classic. Eventually, they just started. But technically closing in is a relative term. Another base as he mines out the mineral wall, and Clem was really trying to keep the pressure up, keep Classic cornered, so that way he can eventually find a gap in the armor and use it to pry apart. But the feedback's right off the back. EMP is too late. The ghosts are out of energy. The storms could easily ward Clem away. He's got another attack with 2 unlucky units getting caught. And now Classic has a very hard decision. Does he recall now? He has to. He does. Another set of robots could be targeted. They were supposed to be safe for natural EMP energy recharge. Not enough. The Marines and the Marauders are caught. The Zealots are closing in. There's not enough DPS. Here come the Stalkers. He picks up abandoned son of Io, but he has it fine through the mineral wall, and the 5th base might be able to cancel. More Army coming across them now. Classic scrambling to defend. Clem turning up the pressure. He rejoins the Widow Line in the main base. It's been here the whole time. As Clem went to drop out. Meanwhile, still Flux on top. He's going to lose a lot of the Stalkers, but eventually take out the Mao. Another Army on the 5th base. Marauders wailing on the Nexus, but he has to retreat. And again, Classic has held his Nexus. He keeps his production up. He has both Romos in production as well. 2 Colossi simultaneously, though extended thermal lance has not yet begun. What happens? Ready, go. Well, what happened? Maybe his keyboard wasn't working, he couldn't type. Or one of the observers accidentally paused, the referees. Either way. We don't wait for anyone here, we do it live. Well, like and subscribe. Extended thermal labs have begun. Mine already there. +2/2 is on the way for Glass. Significantly behind Classic's 2-1 upgrade, but he hasn't yet progressed any further. That's going to be devastating for the Colossi. A high-intensity game thus far. Almost exactly the same amount of resources lost. We'll see if Classic remembers he has a Dark Shrine. This feels like the kind of game where Classic may forget he built that Dark Shrine at some point. Look at Classic. It looks like a factorial building. He's got the 2 pylons, 4 gates, 2 robos. Reminds me of exactly the opposite of some other protons who shall not be named, but well, no. The Vikings en masse. And the Terran army at 200 supply is customarily strong. Customarily. The Colossi don't have the range to reach over the moat to incinerate the SCVs. This is not a high ground, as the Colossi are demonstrating. You don't need high ground vision. It's the same plane, which means very easy to harass this base on either side. Whoever gets in a position to do so and force the issue. Those 2-2 upgrades for Clem might be a springboard to another wave of attacks, especially with the mass Viking production off of 2 Star Wars. He has some defenses in the main, I think, anticipating potential warfare. The factory is now scouting. His factory units have been rendered mostly obsolete, usually not a key part of composition at this stage. Leading with the storm drop, it's 1 storm out, not great, not terrible. Another set of storms awarding away. The Viking count is damn high, but storms a practical and historical counter to them. And, well, Clem still has the supply engaging up a ramp. There's a fusion core now in production as well. Caduceus reactor and advanced ballistics are obviously strong choices, but Classic has taken over half the map. He's got both contested bases down the center. The Vikings toppling Colossi at almost a single volley, but many of the ghosts were taken down as well. Only 3 remain to 8 High Templar. Taking it that much, but so far Classic has done a great job of zoning with the High Templar and minimizing the effects of EMP. 29 Marauders, only 18 Marines in the composition. A lead from the jump here. Sensor towers and more feedbacks. Able to knock out some more of the ghosts. 5 ghosts at a time from Leno. Classic at 80 pros. 4 base saturated. Caduceus reactor on the way for Clem. That means Clem's army is about 20 more supply. But Classic has the economy to rebuild 16 gateways and is just going to be shoving up the high ground. There's no counterattack if this is awkward. Classic taking that top right corner. Here's enough minerals to take every base on the map, and Clem wasn't busy contesting them. The ghosts, the medevac strained. They need that Caduceus reactor for the regen. The Colossi, more storms. The Vikings push back. Classic starting to be whittled down. But Clem, the medevac's desperate for energy. Caduceus reactor can't finish soon enough. And Archon was merging. But can I park here? Is that a no? Seems like a no. As the probe slapping down cannons underneath, he's trying to fortify this position in the top right corner of the map. Clem already splits off a double drop. And a single TT is warped in and warped right back out as the pylon is taken down. Meanwhile, on the high ground, he's just going forward, trying to zone out the ghost. Classic has the bank, and he's trying to wheel it before Clem gets the perfect Terran army. And so far, taking down so many units with those death screams I'm so not used to. Storm zoning out. A single High Templar comes in. Clem arcs out. And the Cloak Ghost so far doing a good job of holding the line. There's no more observers, so you can't see the ghosts. But oh my, the EMPs in the corner whittling down the Zealots one by one. And Classic refills. Does Clem have the resources to do so? The economic sledgehammer here. It's not about how many Zealots you lose. It's about how many you can replace them with. And 3 Colossi at a time. 16 warp gates every 30 seconds. Warping in another cinematic of Zealots. And Classic, wave after wave, like a tower defense game. I feel like I'm in such intense deja vu. Because on this exact map, I've seen Classic do this to Clem before. Successful. It feels like he's refined the strategy, though. He has the production. He's got 3-3. He's working on shields. The fact he's building this much at a time. Clem has done nothing to change the equation. And at this rate, he's not going to solve it. He's still building the same things with less of them. A single drop gets in. And honestly, freeing up a few pros might actually be good for Classic at this point at 89 of them. But the charge launch going to hit the left, queuing up an attack to the center, while the Army threatens the right. And Clem does not have enough Army supply down the center to reliably zone out both. And every moment he steps out of position, the Templar moving up the EFPs a little bit late or a little bit early on the Templar. Charge launch cleaned up. Classic still tiptoeing around with those Colossi, waiting for his moment. Clem will be able to land again, but a very optimistic base to the left side. The Warpers are in the main. And the Vikings will be able to deny, but Charlotte's cutting off reinforcements. Charlotte's cutting off SCVs. The Army, you know it's swinging into position. Clem knows. Classic knows. We know. But can he stop it? The Marines, the Marauders, and the Ghosts mix in, but the Storm zone away. The Colossi and the Stalkers take down the orbital command. The SCVs will be stormed as well. He splits them and actually repairs well, but the main base still taking hits. The new planetary barely coming together as a warp prism. It got into the corner and now Home Depot will be cut to shreds, I say. The depots, I doubt they're going to supply Mach 11 in the near future, but only because Classic is shoving towards the planetary fortress with a storm front across the entire screen. The planetary is incinerated, the main base eviscerated, and now there's no units above to make sure Classic is liberated. There's no observers, though. He will Archon merge to avoid it. The Ghost, there's no detection. Another worker who comes in unceremoniously, but the observers here in town.
All right, stream. Good night.
Actually stop all this. Clem taking a ridiculously cost-effective fight, but losing the war.